actually is changing in the world that's driving CIOs to need to evolve?
CIOs who would like not to work under yet another technology leader would be well advised to step in to what I call the digital leadership void and drive digital transformation, not all by themselves, through partnerships and alliances, as they've always done everything. But why now? What's happening with the CIO role? It's CEO driven, and it's in part, and it's CEOs saying, we need digital transformation here. My CIO is an operator. I'm going to hire this other person, or I'm going to hire a new CIO. So digital transformation is driving an evolution of the CIO role toward influence, strategy, getting closer to the revenue stream. Digital is a capability that companies need to adopt across all of their businesses and all of their functions. CIOs who understand their roles as critical capabilities champions. I have a uniquely end-to-end view, and I can see where we're doing little pockets of digital innovation, where we're not doing any digital innovation, which business leaders are spending on digital technologies, which aren't. I need to create digital as an enterprise capability and bring all of that to my company, because if I don't, we're going to have little pockets of what I think of as vertical digital innovation. We don't have enterprise scale, we don't have an enterprise strategy, and we're entering risk into the organization. So, the digital leadership void is where CEOs are attempting to clamp down on or get behind this concept of digital. So their instinct is to throw a new executive at it and to throw a function at it, when really digital is an enterprise capability that a CIO with his or her unique end-to-end view is capable of driving.
What are the obstacles that may interfere with that happening, and how do you overcome those obstacles?
So probably the greatest obstacle is a perception that IT is an operator and that IT is about support and enablement and not about innovation and strategy. And what I would say to CIOs in their own companies is, if that perception is so embedded into the fabric of the culture and is so deeply held, perhaps this culture is not the right, or this environment is not the right place for you to achieve your digital leadership dreams. And it may be time to pursue another opportunity where you have a chance to change those perceptions. That would be one major obstacle, and probably the most significant. Another obstacle is the team. If you have a team of people who feel that their role is to wait for the order and then take the order and execute on the order, you will not be able to achieve digital leadership, because you may change your relationship to the business, but if your senior team hasn't changed theirs and you don't have the right people in those spots, you will also have trouble changing that perception.
Martha, everything you're saying, of course, makes perfect sense, but it also has built into it the assumption that the CIO herself or himself has the business experience, the capability, and the skill to take on this innovative business role and work across silos and departments and organizations inside the company. And that can be a challenge as well.
So what I would say is, to those CIOs who say, I don't have the skills, I don't have the business acumen, and I'm happy doing what I'm doing, keep doing it, but understand that as the business becomes more technology oriented, your role will be marginalized, and new technology leaders who are not in IT are going to come on board, and you're going to have to deal with them as business partners. So, that's one piece of it. If you don't have the skills or the business context and you're okay with that, define your role accordingly. But if you want to be a digital leader, having business understanding is everything. Here's a great place to start. This is actually quite pragmatic and revolutionary all at the same time. Stop using traditional IT metrics to measure your team. Stop defining investments and performance by 3 nines and uptime and release times, and start using the metrics of the business. JetBlue, for example, Ish Sundaram, who was CIO at JetBlue, and now he's CIO and Chief Innovation Officer, so he's certainly someone who's moved forward in this way. He no longer measures his team on any traditional IT metrics. He shares with them the same metric held by the entire airline, which is called departure zero. How many of our flights leave the gate 0 minutes after departure? He measures their performance, his team's performance, and he measures their investment priorities based on its impact on D0. When you are measuring your team on the same metrics that the business holds dear, guess what? You've got a level of business acumen you didn't have before, and so does your team.
You mentioned putting the customer at the center. And how does that translate onto the CIO and CIO activities?
Putting the customer at the center of everything that we do was a strategy that Kathy McGillicott at Emerson brought forth to her team. But here's where I would have a cautionary note about that. When companies envision a chief digital officer or the idea of digital transformation or innovation, very often they think about marketing, right? And the customer. Customer engagement and marketing. That's our digital. That's where we're putting our digital technologies. That's where we want our CIO to spend most of his or her time. But the fact is, digital is not marketing, but with social media instead of print ads. Digital is much more than that. Digital is supply chain. Digital is employee productivity. Digital is the way we engage with our partners. So, while sure, we want to put the customer at the center of everything we do, we also want to conceptualize digital transformation as something larger than at that point where the customer and the company meet.
Summarize the distilled essence of your advice to CIOs. What's the bottom line here of what's most important?
I would say that what's most important is that, one, CIOs start to conceptualize their role in the organization, and this comes to me, by the way, from Paul Chapman, the CIO of The Gap, as an internal professional services firm. That professional services firm provides secure information security, software development, product development, management consulting, email, data center hosting, vendor management. And once you see yourself as the CEO of a professional services firm, supplying all of these services out to the business, suddenly those boundaries and organizational design is all going to become clear to you. So that's one. Another, let go of control. The notion that, I'll bring this up super fast, not everybody who uses the tools of finance at a company report into the CFO. Not everybody who considers themselves a developer needs to report into IT. Let your people go. Get into the digital mindset where empire building is out. It's about collaboration, blurring boundaries, letting go of control. And here's the critical one. Despite the fact that you run an IT organization, CIO, that is not your primary role. Your primary role is to use your end-to-end view and all of those wonderful analytical tools that allow you to demonstrate what's going on across the enterprise and become the critical capabilities champion of your company. Let your executive peers know what your company is good at and where it needs improvement, and that's where they should be spending their precious investment dollars. That's your job.